How do I say it? Maybe I'll go to.
Okay.
Oh, where's the picture now?
So we're ready to begin.
Okay. No, the other one is on. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll do it.
Okay. So we begin. We are in Parshat Chayei Sarah.
Ah, c'est fantastique, hein?
Fantastic.
Oh, là, là,
Everybody
là, là,
likes
là,
Sarah.
là.
Amen. We begin with Sarah. Yeah. Now the interesting thing is that the portion is called Chayei Sarah, but it starts out when she passes away,
Ouais.
and it says Vayihiyu Yemei Sarah. How old was she? She was 127 when she passed away. We are told that she heard about that her son was being brought up as a sacrifice, and she couldn't bear the shock, and so she passed away.
Which son?
Yitzchak, she only had one, and so after she passed away, Abraham comes from Beersheba. He had gone there after the Akedah. The Akedah was in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, where the Beit HaMikdash was built. And so from Beersheba, he went to Hebron to mourn his wife Sarah and to arrange for her burial, because he wanted to bury her in Hebron, in Marat HaMachpelah. I wanted to mention about the 127. It says she was 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years. Why does it keep saying a year in between? Why doesn't it just say 127? So Rashi tells us that when she was 100, like she was 20. In other words, she was Nakime Mitzvot. She was pure, as if she was a 20-year-old. And she was and when she was at the age of 20, she was like beautiful, like she was 7. There's another explanation that says that every day of her life was equivalent to all of them. At the age of 100, she was like at the age of 20 in her strength. And at the age of 20, she was like age 7 in modesty and purity. And and also at age 7, the other way around. At age 7, she was like intelligent, as if she was 20. When she was 20, she was like righteous, like at age 100. So they were all equal. She was very special. Okay, so we go back to Abraham looking for a place to bury his wife, and he goes to Hebron, and he goes to the Ephron Hachiti, Hachitim, and he wants to negotiate. He wants to purchase the land, a site for to bury his wife. And at first they say, "Oh, whatever you want, you could take for free." And Ephron says, "Yeah, whatever you ask for." And he says, "No, I want to pay." So he says, "Okay." Then it's 400 shekels.
Ouais.
400 shekels of silver he counted out, and it was money that he could use internationally. It was
It's like million of
it was a lot of money, and you see that he insisted on paying for it, so nobody could come and say that this land belongs to them. I mean, he bought it. He paid for it, even though he knew that God was going to give it to him. God promised it to him. But here there were a few places where that were bought, and nobody can say that they're theirs. So he buries her in the cave of Machpelah. What does Machpelah mean? Machpelah is multiplication, like you multiply. Machpelah, lahachpil means to multiply. And the reason is because there were double couples. There were, first of all, there were 2 floors that we're told. There's a few reasons, okay? One is that it was a double floor. The other reason is that there were double couples that were buried there. Adam and Chava were buried in Marat HaMachpelah. And then Avraham and Sarah. Yitzchak and Rivka, and Yaakov and Leah. So there were four, like 2 times 2. Multiple couples were buried there. Okay. So now we continue, and we see that in this portion, he after he buries his wife Sarah, Avraham is old. It says Zaken Baba Yamim, and when he comes with all his days. In other words, we don't always use out the day for the good. Like, we don't do as much as we could. Sometimes we waste time. Some days, some hours are wasted. So Avraham Zaken Baba Yamim, he came with all his days every day. See, what you miss out today, you can't do tomorrow. You say, oh, tomorrow I'll do it. What you didn't do today is gone. It doesn't. And it doesn't come back. Doesn't come back. You can't replace it. So Avraham didn't waste any time. Zaken Baba Yamim, he came with all his days. All his days were complete. They were full. He served Hashem in the fullest way. So, but now he says Yitzchak is getting old and he has to get married. So he sends his servant Eliezer to go to Haran. Haran is where his family is. Abraham's family was there. And he says, listen, go to my homeland and find a wife for Yitzchak, because I don't want anyone of the Canaanim. The Canaanim were cursed by Noach. Noach cursed them after they did, we read the story in Noach about how he behaved when his father, he wasn't nice anyway. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, so he had in mind his brother was Haran and Nahor, right? Now Nahor had a son, Betuel, and Betuel had a daughter, Rivka. So he was his nephew's daughter. Yeah. And he tells Eliezer, he makes Eliezer swear that he's not going to take a wife from the Canaan, from the Canaanim, from the Canaanites that live in the land. And he also says that Yitzchak will not go to Haran to live. He has to be, this girl has to agree to come to Canaan to live in Israel. So Eliezer says, what happens if she doesn't want to come? And Eliezer says, I have faith in Hashem. He guided us till now. You can be sure that he'll, help us in this mission also. The reason that Eliezer said ulai, and it says the word ulai without a vav, which means elai, because he had a daughter and he was hoping that his daughter could marry Yitzchak. So Abraham said to him, listen, it's not going to work, because my son is mevorach, he's blessed, and your daughter is cursed because Noach cursed Ham and Canaan and his son Canaan. So you are Canaanim, so it's not going to work out. Even though Eliezer was a very righteous person. So we see that he is the first shaliach. He's the emissary of Abraham, like going on a shlichut. And we see he says, Eved Avraham, I am his servant. Like, I don't consider myself anything but a servant of Avraham, which means my wish and my will is put aside. I'm here to do a mission. And the same is true, if we look at it and we see how the Lubavitcher Rebbe sent a lot of emissaries all over the world, and you do what the Rebbe wants. We're here. I'm nothing. I'm just here to do my job, to do what the Rebbe wants of us, and bring Mashiach. So he goes out with 10 camels, and all these camels, he loads them with goods and dowries and gifts and everything for the bride and for the family. And Hashem makes another miracle. and his journey, he has kfitzat haderech, the journey is shortened, and by evening he's there. Now it should take a long time. It doesn't take 3 hours. It should take maybe, especially they didn't have no trains, no, it was like, how they went by horse and buggy. So he finds himself by the outskirts of the city, by the well, in no time. By evening, he's there. And this is the time when the women came out to draw water for the house, for their animals. And Eliezer sees all these girls coming, and he says, hopefully I'll be able to choose a bride from these girls. How will I identify her? How will I know that this is the one that is proper, that is, Ra'ui, that she should marry Yitzchak. So he davens to Hashem. He stops and he prays to Hashem. Give me a sign, he says. Give me a sign that I'll know that this is the girl, that this is the right one. And he says, he makes himself a sign and he says, if I ask her for water, and not only does she agree to give me water, but she also offers to draw water for the camels, I know this is the one destined for Yitzchak. Just imagine that she's a little girl, she's only 3 years old, and Yitzchak and Eliezer comes with 10 camels, which means he must have men that are helping him take care of these camels. So like, why should this little girl pour water for him? She should say, you do it, right? And yet we find that Rivka was very special. And before Eliezer finishes praying, even before he finishes, he sees this beautiful girl approaching the well, and he notices that the water is rising to meet her, and he says, oh, she's special. This is a miracle. She's 3. And the water is coming up to her. So he runs over to her and he says, can I have a drink? And she puts down the jug that she had, and she agrees, very graciously, and she gives him water, and then she runs to draw water for the camels. No hesitation, runs back and forth, like till all the camels drink their water. So Eliezer is like overwhelmed, and he says, for sure she's the one. Now it's interesting that he doesn't even ask her name, and he right away gives her this expensive jewelry from Avram's, the stuff that Avram sent for her. And then he says, like, who's your father? Where are you from? And she confirms that she's Rivka, the daughter of Betuel, the son of Milcah, who is married to Nahor, and Nahor is Abraham's brother. And then Eliezer says, do you have room to host a guest? Can I stay over? So she runs home to tell her father, and she actually tells her mother. She goes to tell her mother. We're told that a girl usually runs to her mother to tell, because the question is, why did she go to her mother, not to the father? So that's like natural that a girl should run to her mother and tell her what happened. So Eliezer is Eliezer wanted to thank Hashem for you see, this is another thing we learn. You always have to thank. Nothing is muvan me'elav, nothing is taken for granted. And so he thanks Hashem, and meanwhile Rivka runs home to share the news. And Lavan, her brother Lavan, remember, we're going to learn about him. He sees all this beautiful jewelry on her, and he says, oh, this guy's got money, this gold and all this wealth. So he runs out to meet Eliezer. He runs out and he says, maybe I'll get some of these riches. So they invite him in, and Lavan says, we took away we cleaned out the idols from here so you can come in. He knew that Eliezer was, living with Abraham. He was very saintly man. So he said, who are you? And he said, I'm Abraham's servant again. And I came with a mission. I came to ask for the hand of Rivka to marry Abraham's son Yitzchak. So first of all, they offer him food. Now there's a very interesting, we're told of a medrash, interesting medrash, that it says in the Chumash, it says Vayusam, and it's written Vayasem. The reason Vayusam is because the difference is either you put or somebody else put. It was put. They gave him a portion. Now Lavan and Betuel had in mind, let's kill him. He's got a lot of money. So they put poison in his food. But Eliezer said, I'm not eating yet. I have to first say Modani, I have to daven, I have to pray. I have to first, he wasn't ready. I have things to do. I have to get ready, get ready for eating. And maybe he was looking for some kosher sign, if the food is kosher, abadat. So the angel, we're told, the Medrash says the angel came and switched the plates.
Oh.
So Betuel was the one who ate the poison, and he's the one who died.
It
And he died.
died.
Betuel died. We see that later on when Rivka goes away.
This moment is Parshat.
Yeah.
So Betuel is killed. And when they ask, for permission, they say, yeah, sure, you could take her. But they had in mind, we'll push it off. We'll wait 6 months, wait a year. They weren't so anxious. But so they asked Rivka. And Rivka, it says that she was like a rose in a thorn bush. Shoshana ben Achochim. So when you water the flowers, when you water the roses, the thorns also get water. They also grow. So it comes to a time where you have to take the flowers out. In other words, Hashem said, not one more minute should Rivka be stuck with all these bad people. We have to save her.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault.
We're not blaming you.
No.
We're not blaming you. And
It's totally not my fault. I was going to be here on time, early. Not my fault.
Hashem had other plans for you, right?
Blame the government.
Okay, whatever you want. So here we're getting ready for the first wedding in the Torah.
Yes.
The first shidduch, which is Eliezer goes and he brings a bride. He finds Rivka, who is the son of Betuel, and Betuel is the son of Nahor, who is the brother of Abraham.
Okay.
So they're related. And he said, I don't want anybody from Canaan because Canaan was cursed. Noah cursed Ham and his son Canaan after they misbehaved. And so he says, I need somebody not from Canaan. And he had in mind that he should bring a bride from his family. So Rivka is very anxious to go. We just said she's like the rose in the thorn bush, take her out of the thorns and save her. And she was ready to go. So she accompanies she goes with Eliezer and they go to Abraham's camp. And she sees they're in the Sadeh, in the field, and she sees this very dignified man approaching. And of course, it was Yitzchak. It said Yitzchak yatsa lasuach basadeh. He went to pray the tefillah of mincha in the afternoon. Abraham prayed the morning prayer, shacharit. Yitzchak prayed the mincha, the afternoon prayer. And Yaakov later, when he goes off to Haran, he will pray the evening prayer. So we have 3 prayers a day from Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Each one was the one who was a source for these prayers. So here he's praying the mincha, this afternoon prayer. And she goes off her camel and she says to Eliezer, who is this man? And when she learns that it's Yitzchak, so she is very modest and she covers her face with a veil as a gesture of modesty. So Eliezer tells over the whole story to Yitzchak, and Yitzchak brings Rivka into his mother's tent. And when she goes into his tent, it says he sees that she is so much like his mother, because and so he comforts himself in Rivka because she sort of lessens maybe the sorrow of his mother just passed away. His mother passed away 3 years before. 3 years before, when he was 37 by the Akedah, he passed away. Now he's 40, and Rivka was born when she passed away. So here he says, he brings her into the ohel, into the tent, Rivka Imo, he sees that Sarah Imo, he sees that she's just like his mother. Why? Because the cloud that was above the tent came back, and she had a blessing in that she made the dough, and the dough rose. There was a blessing in the dough that she made, and it says that she lit the candles on Friday night, and when his mother used to light the candles, they lit from Friday till Friday. They stayed lit the whole week. And when Sarah passed away, I'm sure Abraham lit the candles because if the woman is not in the house, the man has to light the candles. And it didn't happen. The big tzaddik, and it didn't happen. Look at the power of the woman. It comes along this little girl. She lights candles, and again they lit from Friday till Friday. So my interpretation is, I don't know if it's correct or not, but you see today we're talking about the power of the women, and we are the daughters of Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. And when we light candles on Friday night, I mean, they don't last from Friday to Friday, but I do believe this is what brings the holiness into the house, right? The Kedusha. And it is the woman's job to keep the holiness in the house a whole week. She's the one who keeps the house holy from Friday to Friday. What songs you listen to, what food you eat, what pictures you hang up in your house, the words you use, how you speak, all this is
Her influence.
it's your influence. It's the woman who puts she's the one who gives the atmosphere in the house. And so I do believe today also we could say that we light the candles from Friday to Friday. We bring the light into the house, the spiritual light into the house, and it stays all week. Even though before we light the candles, of course, this is the time to ask Hashem and pray. And you have this picture of these grandmothers standing there, the tears running down their eyes, praying for their children and their families. This is the Et Ratzon. This is the time that Hashem, answers and brings the light into the house. So then we're told that after Sarah passed away, so Avram remarries Keturah. It says Keturah has a good sense, okay? And it is, the Chazal say, the sages tell us that it was Hagar. That Hagar, who he sent away, he brings her back and she bears him more children. But Avram sends them all away. He gives them gifts because Yitzchak is the sole heir. And he gives Isaac all his possessions. Just like Hashem said, that through Yitzchak, all your offspring will be called. The nation will continue from Yitzchak. And then at the age of 175, Avram passes away. And Yitzchak and Yishmael bury him. It says many places that Yishmael did tshuva. But at the end of the portion, we're told that all of Yishmael's family, he dies at age 137, Yishmael, and all of the wives that he brought, which were not, it says that Abraham's life was shortened 5 years so that he shouldn't have to see all the idol worship of Ishmael's wives. Yeah.
Too many wives.
Too many.
The wrong type.
Too many wrong ones, yeah. Okay. Okay, so now I do want to mention that it's the birthday of the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Harashab, okay, Shalom Ber. And he died at a young age. He was like 50 something. He was very sick. But what was very special about him, he was the one who cried at age 4 or 5. Remember, we told the story that he cried. How come Hashem doesn't reveal himself to me, to us, when he read about the Lech Lecha that Hashem, or Vayera, that Hashem reveals himself to Abraham? Why doesn't he reveal himself to us? So today is a special day, Chaf Cheshvan. Okay, so now there's a story told about a visitor who he stopped by the home of a great Hasidic rabbi who was Rabbi Dov Ber of Mizrich, and he saw such poverty. And he said, look, his house is bare, no furniture, nothing. And he had some like wooden planks or something, and or blocks that served as benches and that the students could sit on, and or during the day, at night it served as a bed and for his family. And he said, how can you live like this? So he said, I'm from a wealthy, I'm not very wealthy. He said, I'm far from wealthy, but at least in my home, you'll find basic necessities. You'll see there's a chair, there's a table, there are beds. How do you live like this? So Rabbi Dovber said, well, I don't see any of your furniture. He said, how do you manage without them? He says, what do you mean? You think I schlepp them? I schlepp my possessions everywhere I go? When I travel, I make do with what's available, right? You take your little suitcase with you and that's it. But at home, a person's home, it's a different matter altogether. So Rabbi Dovber said to him, yes, at home, it's a different matter altogether. For him, it says this world is, you're traveling, you're on your way.
Always.
Your real
Even
home
at
is
home.
somewhere,
Even
even
at
at
home,
home,
you're still on your
you're
way.
still on your way. So this is a very interesting message, that you think you have to have
All this stuff.
all the stuff you could manage. It's like you're traveling. It says this world is a prosdor. It's like the hallway till you reach your home. Okay, now what else did I want to tell you about? About Ephron, okay. When Ephron, Avram weighed the silver to Ephron. So I mentioned that there were a few places that the nations of the world can accuse Israel and saying you stole our land. And the three places are the cave of Machpelah, the site of the Holy Temple, and the tomb of Yosef in Shechem. So the cave of Machpelah, it says Avram weighed the silver to Ephron. The temple, it says that King David, gave Ornan 600 shekels of gold. He bought the temple place. And Yosef's tomb, Yaakov bought this piece of land for 100 pieces of silver, it says, at Shechem. So these three places were actually paid for. And those who say from the river to the sea,
A lot of places were paid for. Those were paid for.
Those what we know in the Torah that were
yeah.
paid for, yeah. It was a big land that he bought, this Hebron, where Rata Machpelah. And
Where is the tomb? I know where the temple is.
the Rata Machpelah is in Hebron.
Hebron, okay. And
Kiryat Arba, it's called. It's called Kiryat Arba because of the 4 couples that were buried in Marat Machpelah. And we mentioned that Machpelah means multiple. When you multiply, there's like multiple couples over there. Also, there are different multiple floors. There are 2 floors. So, yeah. It's interesting, very interesting thing that the place that he bought, it says that the field was the size of a Beit Kor, which is the equivalent of 75,000 square cubits. And that represents a value of 50 silver shekels. So the size of the field that Avram purchased for 400 silver shekels, add that up, was 8 kor, which is 8 kor. Kor is like a maybe, I don't know exactly kor, but it's and it's could be an acre, and it's 600,000 square cubits. A square cubit is approximately 20 inches by 20 by 20. Okay, so which is the space occupied by a single person. One person needs like 20 inches by 20 inches. That means that if you make the proper cheshbon, you could say that Avram purchased a plot of land that provides an individual space for every one of the souls of Israel, because it says Yisrael is Yesh Shishim Ribo Otiot LaTorah. There are 600,000 souls. We're told that the Torah contains also 600,000 letters, counting the spaces between the letters. So every Jew possesses something of the Torah. And the same is true with the land of Israel, that Israel is the inheritance of the Jewish people.
The first place you mentioned, the second was the temple, the
The-
third is located in Hebron. Where is the first place?
No, I'm talking about the Kiryat
First
Arba,
place.
the place that he
Kiryat
bought.
Arba.
He bought from Ephron Achiti. He bought it for 400 silver coins. Now, 400 silver coins means 600,000 cubits.
Yeah, you said there were three places bought.
Oh, yeah, one was the
that's
Temple Mount,
the Temple Mount,
and one was the Joseph's Kever in Shechem.
which is
In
in
Shechem.
Shechem.
Yes.
Where's Shechem?
Shechem is an Arab town at the moment.
Right now, it's an Arab
Yeah.
town. It's the so-called West Bank, or is
Yeah.
it Syria
Yeah.
or Lebanon?
No, it's the West Bank.
So-called West Bank.
Yeah.
Samaria. Samaria. It's in Samaria, right?
Jericho, Shechem wasn't far from where we live. Yeah,
Shechem.
no, ouais, c'est par là-bas.
So it's interesting that he when we made this cheshbon that there's a plot of land for every Jew. Every Jew has a
That was-
part of the land of Israel. Yep. So that's from the very first moment of Jewish ownership of the Holy Land. The first plot of land obtained by the first Jew included a share for every Jewish soul, which is nice. I did mention that Abraham was aged before he decided to marry off his son. So it says he didn't just merely pass through the days of his life, he accumulated them. Each day was fully utilized. They were fully possessed by him. It says, Baba Yamim, he brought with him all the days. He accumulated every day. No day went to waste. Okay, remember that. Okay. It says that 3 people were answered by Hashem as soon as the words left their mouth. It says, B'terem. He didn't even finish praying to Hashem, and Hashem answered him. So it says Eliezer was one of them, the servant of Abraham. Moshe, before he even finished praying, Hashem answered him, and King Solomon. Eliezer, it says, before he finished speaking, Rivka came out. He's saying, Hashem, help me find the right girl for Yitzchak. And then before he even finished praying, this lovely girl comes out and he says, oh, the water came up, and he knows this is the one. Moshe Rabbeinu, it says that when he concluded saying all these things, the ground split open. And that was in the book of Numbers. And Shlomo, it says, as soon as Shlomo concluded praying, the fire descended from heaven. So this Medrash tells us that these were 3 people who merited that Hashem answered them right away. What presents did he give Rivka? So Rashi tells us he took a golden ring, which is a half a shekel in weight. It weighs a half a shekel. And 2 bracelets are 10 shekels of weight of gold. And these allude to the shekels that the Jews would contribute we give a half a shekel, chatzi shekel, for the Bedek Habayit. The 10 shekels is for the Seret HaDibrot, for the 2 bracelets means like the 2 tablets, and the 10 shekels is the 10 commandments that were written in the 2 tablets.
Did he mean to do that? He meant to do
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is what
When
Avram
they
gave it
came-
to him. Avram knew
Knew all this
this is
stuff.
why he's giving it to him, to give to her, yeah. And then the interesting thing is also that when it says about Eliezer, the whole story is Rashi tells us that Hashem enjoys the talk of a servant more than the Torah of the children. So the question is, listen, Eliezer's story is repeated, and it takes up 2 or 3 pages of the Torah, and it's told over twice. And there are so many things in the Torah that is just given to us as a hint, a remez, And here it's like spread out, and this is where we're told that the talk of the servants of our fathers are more desirable than the Torah scholarship of the children, which is interesting.
Say that again.
The talk of the servants of the fathers, the Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. Eliezer was a servant of Abraham. He said, "Ani Eved Abraham. I don't have my own agenda. I am serving Abraham." So his story was told over twice, like all the details, over and over again.
Because we're servants of Hashem.
We're servants of Hashem. So, and this is more desirable to Hashem than the Torah scholarship of the children. In other words, that I think it means when a person gives himself up totally to do what his master wants, this is what Hashem
Obedience.
This
Yeah,
is what
obedience.
Hashem likes.
Right. Obedience.
Yeah. Okay. So the first Jewish marriage is described in the Torah, the union of Yitzchak and Rivka, and this is where we get the. Subsequently, this is all the Jewish marriages are held this way, in the literal sense of building a home in Israel, and in the broader sense of uniting the physical world with its with the spiritual. And this way we fulfill the divine purpose of creation, making the world a dwelling place for Hashem. And this is that Abraham invested everything that he possessed, all his resources, spiritual and material, because he gave Eliezer a deed where she says, "I'm giving over all my possessions," so that they would agree to send their daughter, because they saw, oh wow, he has a lot of money, he's a rich guy, maybe it'll help them make their decision and let her go. So so this is the purpose of creation, is everything that you have is meant to be used for this purpose, to make a dwelling place for Hashem, to make a house, and in the house the Shekhinah, the God's presence has to rest. And so building a house, when a couple gets married, they're building a house and they're bringing the Shekhinah. That's why it says Ish, a man, is spelled Aleph Yud Shin, it has the Yud. And Isha also has the Aleph Shin, but it has the Hey. Yud and Hey is Hashem's name. So when you put the Ish and the Isha together, you're bringing in a third partner. And the third partner is God. And he has to be there, just like if a woman won't try to, how do you say, leratzot, to please her husband, and she'll do everything the opposite. I doubt if he'll stay. And if he does, and if he does the same to her, then she probably won't either stay. So what does Hashem do if we don't allow him into the house? And it's like a partner. When you open a business, okay, so you take in a partner and you say, well, this partner has money, so he's not going to go bankrupt. He has wonderful ideas and he has a vision. We have all the everything we need to be successful. Now, every time this partner comes up with some innovation or some idea, and they say, no. He says, I'm tired. I can't accomplish anything. Give me back my money, and I'm leaving. And this business is going to close. Same is true in this partnership. If Hashem, you're not going to allow him in, he wants a kosher home. He wants the mezuzah on every doorpost. He wants the woman to go to the mikveh and keep the family purity. So if you're not going to do this, and there's okay, bye. And we know that Hashem is the one who provides us with everything we need. And it's interesting how when people are stuck in a situation where they say, oh Hashem, please, please help me. I'll keep Shabbat. I'll do this. And then when everything works out, they say, "Oh, it's okay. We're okay. We
enough
managed."
now, yeah.
No, we managed, thinking that they did it on their own. So first of all, we have to remember where everything comes from and who everything comes from, and it's from Hashem. And when it's good or when it's bad or when it seems bad, because it's never bad, but it might seem bad. And so we have to take that into consideration and know that the reason that we're here is to bring the Shekhinah, to reveal Hashem in this world. And the way we do it is by following His Torah and mitzvot. And the thing we're taught in Tanya that Hashem's light is much too great for a physical body to encompass. So in order for it to be able to reveal the light, it needs to be dressed. You need a garment. And the garments for the soul are the thought, speech, and deed. Meaning that our thought has to be pure, our speech has to be pure, and our actions have to be pure. And if a person does not fulfill them all, his soul will come back. I say Gilgul Neshamot is when the soul comes back into the world, and until you complete the garments, until your soul is totally enveloped in the Torah and mitzvahs, then you can reveal Hashem gets revealed in this world. So we're at the last stop, actually. This is the seventh generation, and the seventh generation, we know Mashiach has to come. And it's obvious the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the seventh, and through the lineage from the Baal Shem Tov, it says that the Baal Shem Tov went to the Heichal of the Mashiach, and he said, "When are you going to come?" And he said, "I will come when the Mayanot, when the springs, the well springs will overflow. Mayanot will spread out into the world, meaning the secrets of the Torah, the depth of the Torah, which means the Hasidut. So the Baal Shem Tov was the one who started out the Hasidut, and he said that there's a deeper insight into everything, and Hashem loves even this simple person, and it's not just the Torah scholar, it's your heart. He wants your heart. And then the first Lubavitcher Rebbe, which was Shner Zalman of Liadi, he's the one who wrote the Tanya, and he said you can try and use your body as a vessel to understand godliness. In other words, you trying to understand godliness, you realize that it's way above your way above your intelligence, but you could bring that into your intelligence and try and understand as much as you can. So we are at this level where that's it. Mashiach can come. Like the Rebbe said, everything is done. We've polished, the buttons are polished, everything's done. We just have to maybe do the last, maybe the mitzvah you do today is what's going to bring Mashiach. So this is our aim. And we were chosen to be the seventh generation. So you might think, oh, we're so great. So we're told we're like the midgets on the shoulders of the giants, because the generations before us were giants and they were big Torah scholars. And here we are, these little people, but we're standing on their shoulders and we can see much further. So we're the ones who get to bring to finish what was started then. So we're the ones who are going to bring, and that's what the Rebbe has been talking about. Seventh generation is Kol HaShvi'in Chavivin. The seventh is like there's from Abraham to Moshe is also 7 generations. Until we received the Torah, there were 7 generations. We had Matan Torah. We received the Torah, and now there were 7 generations from the Balatanya till this Rebbe. We had 7 generations that taught us these deep insights into the Torah, the learning the Chassidut and learning the Tanya, like opened up a whole new level. And it says that the difference between a wellspring and a mikvah, the mikvah is rainwater. Now, rainwater has a certain amount of rainwater that has to be in order to purify a person. There has to be 40 se'ah. It's like a certain amount of rainwater. Wellspring doesn't have a measure, because the wellspring, even a little bit, as long as your whole body is covered, can purify any person, and it can purify the lowest person. And that's why the Rebbe said, spread out spreading out the teaching of Hasidut, because maybe somebody who's in such a low level will become purified. And we see today that a person can become suddenly aroused from the deepest, wherever he is, and suddenly his soul gets aroused, and it brings him closer. Whereas if you're going to sit and explain to him, it doesn't always work. But like people were saying, how are you spreading out the secrets of Torah? And they're like rolling in the streets, printing out these pages, and it's like the Rebbe told an example of a king that had a crown, and in his crown he had these very, very expensive gems, and his son became sick, and all the doctors were trying to cure him, and nobody found the cure until one doctor said, "Listen, you're going to have to take one of these precious gems from your crown and grind it, make it into a powder, and maybe the son was already unconscious. Maybe he'll taste something from this potion, and it might save him." Would the king think twice about taking out this precious gem and grinding it? Of course not. So that is why this is the answer to how once upon a time they said you have to reach the age of 40 in order to learn Kabbalah, right? And here it's like free for all. So he says that we're at a generation where, it's a sick generation, spiritually sick, and it might save the children. It might save. We are all the sons of, Hashem is our Father in heaven, and he wouldn't think twice about taking the secrets of the Torah and spreading them out if it will save you. So these are very special times, and we said it's the 20th of Cheshvan, and it is the birthday of the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe, which was the fifth. He was the father of Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, and Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak was the father-in-law of Menachem Mendel, of our Rebbe.
What generation do you suppose he was a member of? They talk about the 7th generation.
The 7th generation is now.
So now.
And we're talking about
Rebbe,
2 generations ago.
Two.
2 generations ago.
The fifth.
The 5th was 2 generations ago. And so the Rashab was taught Chassidut in a very, very, like he would take things that the first Lubavitcher Rebbe taught, and he would expound on them in a very, very deep level. And from him we have like a lot of more knowledge about Chassidut. Many times there's a diary that the previous Rebbe wrote, and every day he calls it Hayom Yom. Every day is a special day. It's actually printed out in English. You can get it. Hayom Yom. We do that every time we do the Chitat. We start out with Hayom Yom. Every day has a very special message, and he's always bringing things that he learned from his father, from the Rashab, who's the father of the previous Rebbe. And so I'll give you an example of what we learned yesterday. Yesterday's Hayom Yom said that Shema Yisrael, the word Shema means it's the Rashi Tevot of Se'u Marom Enechem. Lift up your eyes above. It doesn't say to heaven, it says above. Why does it say Marom? Why does it say above? Because there's level after level after level. There's no end to the heights that you can reach. And he says that a person who's rich will always think very broadly and, think big. Whereas a poor person always thinks, always thinks, small.
Has to.
And even if he has money, he still might, think, he might not broaden his ideas or his thinking. So he says that a Jew has to look above, and he has to look. When you're looking above, you're looking beyond your intellectual powers, and that's the way we have to. That's Se'u Shema Yisrael. Se'u Marom Enechem. Always look above the level that you see. You know that there's a higher level, and there's a never end to the levels. That was one example. I'll give you one more example that we read 2 days ago, and that was not 2 days ago. I'll tell you one that was 3 days ago, and he says like this. That there was a itvadut, there was a gathering in Varsha, and it was on Simchat Torah, and he says that he explained, this is the Rashab, explained that people think that the service of Hashem is only for those who know Chassidut and are well learned. And he says, those who spend so much time serving Hashem, and he says that it's not true, that serving Hashem is quality time, not quantity time. And he said, when you stand and you pray, you have to be focused, and you have to now I'm praying, and it doesn't matter how much time, but this is like physically you're there, you're totally there, and this demands quality time. And then he says you could take an axe and you could swing it, but if it doesn't hit the wood, like you say you want to chop wood, you can swing the axe with all your might, but if it doesn't touch the wood, then you're not going to chop the wood, right? So in other words, it doesn't matter how long you're standing there swinging the axe, but it's the quality, that you have to hit the wood on the spot. So he says that he was talking to the students of the yeshiva, of the Talmud Chachmim, and he said that remember that when you walk in the street, it should be they should be able to recognize that this is a person who's connected to Hashem, and never waste a minute. He said, and any minute that you waste is gone, doesn't come back. You can't reset the clock. Once it goes, it's finished. And he says that a long night. Now we have long nights, and in the summer we have long days. He said it's like a year, like a long summer's day, and a long summer's night is like a year. So just make sure that you take care of, watch the time and make it holy. So that's the message for today. Here we stop. Yeah, to